Welcome to Project Blizzard. I'm ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Chief Meteorologist Tom Coombs, and this is ABC 57's Project Blizzard. Michiana is known for its winter weather. We have everything from lake effect snow to winter storms, bitter cold temperatures, and even blizzards. Project Blizzard is about winter weather education. Over the next 30 minutes, the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather team is going to teach you about the science of winter weather and how to stay safe during Michiana's coldest months. ABC 57's Project Blizzard starts right now. Many people dream of a white Christmas, but the holiday blizzard of December 2022 was more of a winter weather nightmare. The storm began the evening of December 23rd with a quick round of widespread snow. This was followed by a sudden drop in temperature, falling from the mid-30s to a low of 8 degrees below zero by the morning of December 24th. Michiana saw blizzard conditions with wind gusts in excess of 50 miles per hour and whiteout conditions during the holiday blizzard. The blowing snow and temperatures proved dangerous in Berrien, LaPorte, and St. Joseph counties with numerous car accidents and road closures. During the holiday blizzard of 2022, ABC 57 meteorologist Emmett Toomey was on the road in the ABC 57 mobile weather tracker. Over 48 hours, he learned firsthand just how dangerous blizzard conditions can be.
I was an intern when the holiday blizzard of 2022 happened. It was from December 23rd to December 25th. I had just gotten done with finals. I was in my senior year of college at Valparaiso University, which was about an hour west here of South Bend in ABC 57 News. I was supposed to shadow Chief Meteorologist Tom Coombs for a normal newscast, but because of the blizzard, followed him along as we tracked the blizzard for the next 12 to 24 hours, leading all the way up until Christmas Eve. I got into our mobile weather tracker and we chased the holiday blizzard for the next 6 to 7 hours on December 23rd. Usually you have to wait a day or two for that blizzard warning to take place. It takes a lot of time for the National Weather Service and local meteorologists like us to really make that call, but that was issued within 12 hours of the snow first starting in South Bend in Michiana. The conditions that followed the holiday blizzard here back in 2022 were a unique rapid set of conditions. You had the cold that was entering from the polar air masses wrapping in from Canada. You had the amount of moisture present that was being pulled in from the Pacific Northwest, and you had the direction of the cyclone, which was following perfectly, so that not only did you get the system snow dumping on Michiana, but you had the lake effect as well that added more than about 2 feet than what we normally would have gotten had it just been a traditional blizzard. We knew road conditions were already dangerous. We were actually going to follow up on a 15-car pileup on the highway up in Benton Harbor, hence why we had to travel there. So the first things first, we had almost all the meteorology team here and we consulted the safest route to get there, which ended up being a northerly road that took us into Benton Harbor. From that point on, it was basically slow driving, staying to the right side of the road and putting your hazard lights on so they were always blinking, and whether it be public officials or other people who were on the road could see you. That way they made sure not to run into you, because at some points it was truly whiteout conditions. You couldn't even see 10 to 15 feet in front of you. So driving through those roads, it took a lot longer. You really had to slow down. I went about 20 miles under the speed limit of what was recommended because I couldn't see in front of me for a good half of the trip. By the time we had got there, conditions had already deteriorated and it was slowly getting darker out because it was already in the winter, and evening time was about 5:30. Sunset was about a little bit later. So in the middle of the day, we were already at Benton Harbor, and ABC 57 made the decision that to come home was a little bit too dangerous. So from that point on, our thought process was, okay, we're going to hunker down in one spot here. And fortunately, there were hotels close enough by, less than a half a mile away, that we could drive to, and were able to spend the night there. We spent the night and eventually woke up the next morning, left early in the morning to hopefully miss a lot of that lake effect that was supposed to come in later in the day. And we were able to make it home safely by, again, going slowly on the road, the hazard lights always blinking, and making eventually our way home. It took about an hour then too. From a meteorological standpoint, the biggest thing about this blizzard was I finally put theory to practice. I took many classes over the past 3.5 years that showed me how to prep for a blizzard and showed me how I could spot a blizzard on a map or a different chart or a model. But this was the first time I was actually in the middle of a blizzard chasing it, watching these processes that I studied for 3.5 years become reality in front of me, tracking and explaining that to the public. On a more personal level and a professional level, I think this was the opportunity that made me realize I really wanted to work with the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather team because of how much I appreciated the work we had done and how much the station supported me during this entire process. From the beginning of the blizzard and the warnings we issued beforehand, all the way to after the blizzard and the recovery efforts from Michiana.
The holiday blizzard debunked a common misconception about the term blizzard. With a blizzard, it doesn't have to snow or snow very much to be classified as a blizzard. Snow totals range from a few inches to a foot in some places, but the blowing snow and icy roads made travel dangerous no matter how much snow was on the ground. So was it a blizzard? The answer is yes. This storm checked all the boxes. Strong wind, whiteout conditions, and happening for multiple hours. In fact, we had blizzard conditions for what felt like days. This was a powerful storm system, what we call a bomb cyclone. What that means is we had a tremendous drop in pressure with that low pressure system over 24 hours or more. The lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. The stronger the storm, the stronger the wind. All these factors coming together. We had system snow that brought a little snow to the area, and then we had that lake effect snow, making things worse, especially across southwest Michigan. Heavy snow, low visibility, blowing snow, drifts, and then you factor in the Arctic cold. Even just a little bit of snow stuck to all the roads, creating dangerous driving conditions. The Arctic cold was the final blow. Temperatures began falling below zero, making salt ineffective and causing roads to stay slick for days. Storms like this are typically rare, occurring once or twice in a generation. The coldest temperature ever recorded in South Bend, 22 degrees below zero. When temperatures fall into the negative numbers, cold can turn from uncomfortable to dangerous in just minutes, especially when you factor in the wind chill. ABC 57 meteorologist Amber Twardy breaks down how the wind chill impacts how cold it feels.
Have you ever noticed that on windier days you feel a lot colder? Well, that's because of something that we call wind chills, or what you might have heard of as feels-like temperatures. Now, how do we get this number? That's from combining air temperature and wind speed and plugging it into a really big equation. Now, what that tells us is how it feels like outside, how cold it feels to us at least. Now, an easier way to break this down is this chart here. It can tell us how cold the wind chills would feel with air temperature and wind speed, but also how fast you could get frostbitten on any exposed skin. Now let's take a look back with this in mind at some of the wind chills that we saw during the holiday blizzard at the end of 2022. We saw wind chills that were down in the negative 20s and negative 30s, which meant that you could have gotten frostbitten in just 10 to 30 minutes. Very dangerous for us when we have cold temperatures like that. The coldest feels like temperatures, well, those were felt in Warsaw, down to about negative 38 degrees for those wind chills. Now, how does this work? What is the science behind this? Well, our bodies, we radiate heat. With that heat, it creates this nice invisible warm blanket around us to keep us warm in those cold temperatures. When there's no wind, that blanket is left undisturbed and we can stay warm in those cold temperatures. So if it's 20 degrees out, it feels like 20 degrees out. Now, if there's a good amount of wind out there, it mixes up that blanket around us, takes off that insulating layer and makes us feel a lot colder. That makes our bodies lose heat a lot faster too. So it can definitely make us feel very, very chilly. In times like these, when it's very cold, very windy, you're going to want to make sure that you bundle up to stay nice and warm.
It's time for the ABC 57 Winter Fashion Show. It's important to know how to dress for every type of weather, and our meteorologists are here to help style you. First up, Dave is showing us a chilly weather outfit. Start with long sleeves and pants, add a jacket and a pair of boots. Work it, Dave. All right, and next up to the stage, Amber's got this season's hottest look for a cold weather day. Start with the basics that Dave had, but add a warm coat, zip it up. Amber adds a pair of cute warm gloves. Now, to complete her look after we put the gloves on, we're gonna top it all off with a hat to keep your head warm. And don't forget, a waterproof pair of boots for rainy or snowy weather. Looking good, Amber. And finally, for the most frigid of weather, Macy is going to add a lot of layers. Start out with a sweater and a warm pair of snow pants or bibs. Wear warm waterproof boots. Next, you're going to put on that winter coat once again and make sure you don't just wear it, but you zip it all the way to the top too. Now, the look doesn't stop here. Macy is going to accessorize with a pair of waterproof gloves in case she touches any snow. Her fingers won't get wet. Now, she's going to add to this a pink hat to wear. Looking good. And to match, that's not all. She's going to put on a pink scarf as well. She is going to wrap this all around her face so that she doesn't get frostbite when she goes outdoors. This look goes best when you show the least amount of skin. Put your hands together for all of our meteorologist models today, and remember to steal their looks to stay safe and stay warm before you go outdoors in the cool, cold, or frigid weather throughout the winter season.
When it comes to winter, Lake Michigan and lake effect snow sets Michiana weather apart from winter weather in other parts of the country. Because of how lake effect snow works, you could wake up to snow outside your house in the morning, while your friend in another town could have sunshine. ABC 57 meteorologist Macy Tetrick and Amber Twardy break down the science of lake effect snow.
When we live this close to Lake Michigan, in the wintertime, we get a special weather phenomena called lake effect snow. Now, it can look really beautiful. I mean, just take a look at this video. As the snow comes down, it looks awesome, especially as it blankets the trees and it looks like a beautiful winter wonderland. But the numbers with lake effect snow can really add up very quickly. We actually came really close to setting a record in November of 2022. We missed it by just 0.1 of an inch of coming close that to a record. Now, what exactly is lake effect snow? Well, our meteorologist Amber Twardy can explain.
Thank you, Macy. Well, let's break down lake effect snow step by step. First up, you need a warm body of water, and for us, that's Lake Michigan. It has to be warmer than the air that's around it. Next up, you need some chillier land, and that's here in Michiana. Now, what you would have is a cold air mass that moves over that body of water, picking up moisture while it moves over it and producing clouds. When those clouds get too filled up with moisture, they start to produce lake effect snow, and that's what gets dumped on us here in Michiana. Now, where does that snow go? Well, it's all determined by winds. It could be coming from one direction, and then you would be seeing plenty of snow for the day, might even get a snow day. But if the winds shift just a little bit, your friend in the next town over could be seeing that snow instead, and you'd still have to go to school for the day.
Watch, warning, or advisory, they all may sound like the same thing, but there's criteria for how impactful winter weather could be. ABC 57 First Warning neighborhood meteorologist Dave Caulfield spoke with our partners at the National Weather Service of Northern Indiana, who issue winter weather alerts.
You might have noticed recently that there have been some changes to winter storm warnings in Michiana, and really once we get into the winter season, you might see these warnings across the bottom of your screen on ABC 57, really once we get into the winter weather. And to talk about those changes, we have meteorologist Nathan Marcelli here from the National Weather Service in Northern Indiana. Nathan, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. And so, when we talk about winter storm warnings, what has changed and what should people think of when they see that their areas are under a winter storm warning?
There's been a change to the criteria. We call it more of a modernized snow criteria, where we used to have a warning criteria of 6 inches in 12 hours or 8 inches in 24 hours. We've basically taken that time, the 12 and 24 hours out of the criteria, and just more focused on the impacts. We still have the amounts, but it's kind of a combination of the amounts and the impact based.
And do these changes help with more long duration snow events, maybe over a day or two? Because in the past, if an area was under a winter storm warning, if that snow didn't come right away, that would sometimes change the perception. So does that help you guys with long duration snow events?
Yeah, and the new criteria, there could be situations where possibly 6 inches of snow, it could, depending on maybe the air temperatures, the winds, and the road conditions, it could have a substantially, that's 6 inches, a different impact from one event to the other. So focusing more on the impact based, we're going to kind of weigh those when we collaborate watches and warnings to determine if any given amount of snow, how much impact that will have given the other atmospheric conditions that are ongoing.
Do these changes take into account if this is a rural area, or is it just more county by county?
It really takes into effect kind of a geographical region. For example, in our forecast area, that row of southern lower Michigan counties has a slightly higher criteria. Berrien is 8 inches, and all the other lower Michigan counties are 7 inches. And that's just because based on frequency in the climatology, infrastructure, the ability to remove snow quickly.
There have been some updates to the snow squall warnings that you guys can issue. Can you explain what those are if people haven't seen them before?
Yes, so snow squall warnings are designed to warn of these bands of snow, which can result in very rapid changes in the traveling conditions. Your visibility will go from maybe unlimited visibility to down to a half to a quarter mile in these snow bands. And there's been just a small change to those. A lot of it won't be real evident, but there's a tag. We call these tags at the bottom of the warning, but we'll have a significant tag. And if we do put that significant tag on the warning, that might infer that these bands will be affecting major highways or during peak travel times. And that will cause more of an alert in terms of the wireless emergency alert activation system.
And for everyone involved, getting the word out as fast as possible is really paramount in these snow squalls.
That's right. And one thing about the snow squall warnings, a lot of times we won't issue those for lake effect snow. That we're not really intending them for lake effect snow bands. It's more for these when we get these Arctic air masses push in, and we get these really gusty winds and rapid temperature drops behind the bands. That's kind of what they're primarily designed for.
And for this winter overall, what are we expecting?
A lot of the forecast for the long-term winter is based more on the El Nino, the ENSO. And we're heading into a pretty strong El Nino, it appears. And those typically can be associated with above normal temperatures and below normal precipitation. Temperatures is a lower confidence item. That we have a lot of variability in the El Ninos with temperature. A little more confidence in the below normal precipitation, but a lot of times with these strong El Ninos, the middle of the winter can actually be our snowiest period, kind of that late January into February, kind of our maximum. At least when these strong El Ninos have occurred in the past, that's when we've had most of our snow. It doesn't mean that's what will happen this winter.
Winter, winter, winter. Winter forecasting is about balancing all the variables. You get it right and you stand tall. You get it wrong and your forecast can come crashing down. This year, I'm going to solve the winter weather puzzle by unstacking the season's forecast, connecting block stacking to the complexities of the atmosphere. Each season, meteorologists look at long-range signals to gain an edge on how warm, cold, dry, wet, or snowy it could be. You've likely heard of El Nino and his sister La Nina, but what exactly are they? How are ocean temperatures in the Pacific, drought in the Philippines, and a milder winter in Michiana all connected? Teleconnections are a linkage between weather changes occurring across widely separated regions of the globe. It sounds like wires used for worldwide communication, and in a way, it is. It's a response from the atmosphere playing telephone from the tropics to the poles. It's all connected. According to NOAA, the developing El Nino is forecast to peak strong and could be one of the strongest ever recorded. The term El Nino has been a common weather term for over 30 years. You may even know it as the warming of the tropical waters of the Pacific Ocean. But there's more to it. It's the connection between ocean temperatures and a change in weather patterns. During neutral conditions, surface trade winds blow westward across the equatorial Pacific. Blowing across the ocean surface, these winds result in a westward current. Warmer water near the Philippines means rising moist air in the atmosphere, more rain in the western Pacific. What goes up must come down. The rising air sinks near Peru and the cycle continues. We call this the Walker circulation, after Sir Gilbert Walker, a British scientist that made the connection. La Nina is similar to neutral conditions, just more extreme. Stronger trade winds east to west and more rainfall in the western Pacific. El Nino is just the opposite. The trade winds weaken, the surface wind is more west to east, and warmer water moves from the Philippines to Peru, and the Walker circulation shifts. Heavy rain is closer to South America, and the Philippines are in the sinking dry zone. The change in weather patterns in the tropics is connected to more northerly latitudes. The Pacific jet stream strengthens and becomes an amplified west to east storm track across the southern United States. The Aleutian Low becomes more dominant, which then shifts the polar jet stream, changing storm tracks in the northern U.S., putting typically warmer and drier conditions in place. Which brings us to this year. A strong El Nino is expected to be a major player and tip the balance of winter storms. Let's get back to our block tower and how it represents a seasonal forecast. Each block is a weather factor. The Eastern Atlantic, the Western Pacific, the Scandinavian patterns. The Arctic and Atlantic oscillations are all teleconnections, just like La Nina and El Nino. Then there's the polar vortex, warm air, cold air, lake temperatures, climate change. It's all part of the game. Just like in weather, some blocks slide out easy without much impact. Others, it feels like the weight of the entire column is on that block. The average winter snowfall in South Bend is 51.4 inches. The average length of this game is 5 to 15 minutes. When I make a seasonal forecast, I'm looking for any blocks that can make for a quick game or a long slog. In other words, what dominant weather factors will make for a short, mild, or long snowy winter. When El Nino is strong, very strong, it changes the game. This tri-colored version of the game is a derivative of the original game, with one wrinkle. A die determines what colored block you have to pull. Let's say El Nino is every yellow block. And since it's strong, this die is loaded. And you end up having to move every yellow block first. Think about how that could change the game. It would change the average play dramatically. A strong El Nino makes a short, mild winter more likely. It's not a lock, but it also makes below normal snowfall more likely. Most years, I'm trying to balance all these blocks and pick just the right few. Not this year, only a few blocks have to get knocked loose to make the tower fall. So my 2024 winter outlook calls for a quicker game, a milder winter and less snowfall. 35 inches of snow and no nights below zero. Last winter was already one of the warmest and least snowy winters on record, so it would be significant if this year tops it. But we did have a blizzard before Christmas. A mild winter doesn't mean no winter. Thank you for watching Project Blizzard. We hope you learned something during this ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Special Report. And remember, when winter weather is at its worst, turn to the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather team on air, online, and on the First Warning Weather app to keep you safe. For the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather team, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Coombs. Thanks for watching.